celebrations after that game at the Santiago Bernabeu as it finishes Real Madrid 3, Barcelona 2. They are now 11 points clear at the top of the table. Nobody is catching Real Madrid.
It's over.
Pretty much home and hose. Remember, that's pretty much 12 points as well because it's head-to-head and not goal difference that separates these two teams in Spain. Right, there's so many different talking points to discuss from this Clasico. For more, let's welcome in, shall we, from our watch party, where I imagine it's Real Madrid fans who are left, the Barcelona fans left early, and Patrick Kluivert joins us, as there's Luis Garcia. Patrick, a great Clasico, but in the end it's Bellingham as it was, as we saw in Barcelona earlier this season, who proves to be the winner.
Yes, I think that the overall of the game, it was a fantastic game. You know, both teams are playing well. Both teams are pressing high. It was very attractive to watch the game. And at the end, of course, yeah, the quality of Jude Bellingham showed again. I have my doubts also with kind of decisions of the referee. But it's always easy to say it after the game.
That he's been caught out. It was Dembele and it was Vasquez, not even aware of a player behind him. We're talking about a seasoned international footballer who's played full-back now for a decade. Great player going forward, and nobody's doubting that. But how the hell can you have your body in a position twice in 3 days to be done at the back post? On top of that, he gave a penalty away, João Cancelo, in Paris. And you could argue he was culpable for Garcia having to make a decision with his poor defender on this one. So these weak points of the Barcelona defence and his lack of ability to get himself in good defensive areas and make good defensive decisions is ultimately cost this side. Not only today, but midweek.
But the embarrassing part is that it's one thing if you're late to the challenge. It's one thing if you react late. But what's really, truly embarrassing about the defending, or lack thereof, from João Cancelo, is that he doesn't even know. Right. He doesn't even know or realize that Lucas Vázquez is there. Lucas Vázquez finishes the challenge, and he's like, oh, well, where did he come from? That's your responsibility. Any defender, any player who has played the left-back position would know that, first of all, your body position has to be such that you got to be aware of the guy coming from the outside. And he's surprised. How does that happen at this level and for a guy of this experience? So it's not even, to me, it's just lack of concentration, unwillingness to defend, and unawareness of what's going on around you. And that's irresponsible.
And Luis, what's got to really frustrate Xavi is the fact that you twice got the lead at the Santiago Bernabeu against Real Madrid, and then you not only let that lead slip, you let them get that late winner.
Yeah, and you know that when you play against Real Madrid much more at the Bernabeu, it doesn't matter if you are going ahead 1-0, 2-0, because in the end, Real Madrid managed to get back, to make a comeback, to push until the last minute, and because that's the way they've been doing the things for the whole history. They got that kind of mentality to never give up, to always do whatever it takes to try and fight it until the last minute. And of course, it's going to be frustrated. But again, and I don't want to recall it again, I think he must be very, very frustrated about the situation for Cancelo. Then I'm sure that is not the moment to complain about a player, to point him. But they cost that kind of plays cost you the Champions League to don't going through. I'm sure of that. If you don't concede the first goal of Dembele the other day because of his lack of awareness, I'm sure the Barcelona could have go further with more confidence. And today, once again, when you are dominating, you are having the patience, you are having the ball, you are creating chances. The players who you have made involved with Pedri, with Fermin, with Ferran Torres are working. Then sometimes it's not easy to, in this kind of intense games of ins and outs, going forward and going backwards. And you manage to do all that. And because one mistake, big mistake in your area, you threw everything, the work of everyone, away because of the lack of concentration. And I think that's a massive, massive mistake that needs to be addressed, and hopefully we don't see it, because today it was the 3 points, but we've seen so many mistakes like this one during the year, but because the quality of the players that they were playing against, they were not as accurate to capitalize in the chances. But this chance, we've seen it so many times this season.
These kind of mistakes you cannot make. it's really embarrassing to see the mistakes that João Cancelo defensively is making. Everybody knows how he can play offensively with his speed, with his choices, but come on, he's a defender, and you have to defend first. And if the ball comes from the left side, you have to know you've got to close the gap. You have to, his body language, his position of his body was totally wrong, and that's unacceptable. Full stop. On this level, it's unacceptable.
The only time he knew a player was behind him was when Lucas Vazquez was putting the ball in the back of the net.
And that's 100% true, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just... I mean, honestly, when you see kids learning the game and then you go into the youth team levels at clubs and whatever, and you know, managers and coaches walk you around and make sure you're understanding the position. My God, when you're taking under 16s, 17s and 18s football, you already know that. You already know about.
Well, you should.
You already know about having your body position in the right area where you can see you can try and see what's happening. So that's been bad. But to go back to the positive side in the Bellingham goal, and you mentioned it there, that finish, you know, is way more difficult than it looked.
Oh, really?
Just spot on. I was essentially, when we came on air, you would not be surprised if they get to the Champions League final and this guy was the story again, because that's kind of how his season is panning out.
And there was conversation leading up to this game and over the last month or so where his productivity has dropped. And
Which it has, which is fair.
And so, yeah, and we pointed out.
Well, we feel like that today. As this day goes on, productivity level
may drop. Well, but I think what's key is that even though the goals were not there as they were in the earlier part of the season, the performances were still there. He's a guy that gives you a lot of work in the attacking half, but also gives you a lot of work in the defensive half. Today, in the first half, couple of sliding challenge because he's tracking players. And that, I think, is what makes him a complete player. Scoring the goal is great, and we're all going to pay attention to that, and everybody's going to celebrate. But the totality of his performance is, I think, what separates Jude Bellingham from most. He can give you the work defensively. He can give you the work offensively. He can distribute through the midfield. He can appear in the attacking box and in the defending box. He is everything for Real Madrid in terms of what he provides this group.
Will Barcelona get a better chance?
Oh.
Would they have had a better chance? They've got two holding midfielders at centre-back and left-back. They've got a 38-year-old and a 34-year-old in midfield. One of them played in midweek in the Champions League. So they've got... Well, he's the number one goalkeeper, but I think you can see an Andre Lunin, although he's played well at times, he's not filling anybody full of confidence. So when you see how sort of patched up it was, and Sid Lowe, our colleague, touched on it before the game, this selection was down to the physical... You know, the physical state of these players after what they've been through. Not because this is exactly the team that Ancelotti wanted to put out, but it's one that he felt he needed to put out, and yet it's still got this side over the line.
Yeah, they're just such a machine, aren't they? Real Madrid, they get punched in the face, but more often than not, they bounce back. Patrick, before we go and let you go and enjoy the rest of Disneyland with Seb, your final thoughts from what you saw today?
Yeah, again, from the beginning, I think that Barcelona and Real Madrid, they played both a very good game, very attractive. The speed of the game was fantastic. But at the end, you know, it's a pity. I'd rather have seen it 5 points. Then the competition was still alive, but now it's done. You know, Real Madrid is going full on to the championship. And we need to accept this. And for me as a Barcelonista, it's very difficult to digest.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you for restraining yourself from punching any of those Real Madrid fans behind you who seem to have thoroughly enjoyed the victory.
I was quiet. I think that we've seen what Real Madrid is capable of. I know that Real Madrid is always getting back. They never give up, and it's been proven the whole season. They've been magnificent. Today, I think they played a fantastic game. It was a very good performance, toe-to-toe against a Barcelona that needed everything. They needed to get that result, and they managed so well the tempo of the game. So fair play to say that they deserve the win in the end. And, well, it's a pity for the Barcelona fans because there is no more competitions about it, and it's the moment to start thinking about the next season.
It's that campaign.
Well, we're not quite done with this. Hey, somebody's got to cover LALIGA in the week. Oh,
there you go. Hey, shout out to Antonio Rudiger, by the way. 120 minutes in the midweek. Plays today again. No excuses, no issues, just doing his job. The same with Fede Valverde. Two guys that you love to have in your team. If you are playing against Antonio Rudiger, you hate it. but you love having him in your team.
Right, we'll let you go, Patrick. Thank you, Luis, as well. Much appreciated. Sebi, what a weekend you have had. What's been brilliant, hasn't it, for this sort of match? You see the ebb and flow and the emotion of the fans at this party.
Absolutely. Here at Disneyland Resort, there was no doubt about it, a majority Real Madrid fans. And you could hear it here at Splitsville when the first goal dropped. You could hear kind of the consternation of the Real Madrid fans. The Barcelona fans, there was a few of them, but they made some noise. And then as the game kind of wore on, yeah, you got the sense of how many people were here to root for Real Madrid. Some of them are from the actual Peña, and I brought them on along here because I think they got some questions that they want to send into the studio. I got my guy Henry here and my guy Thor. They tell me Thor's the man of few words, so we're going to go with Henry. Henry, how you feeling about the game? And you got a question for the boys back in studio. I know you're a big fan of ESPN FC. Stevie, your favorite, is in there right now.
Stevie Nichols is my all-time favorite, obviously, but because of the shepherd's pie. And he's always criticizing everybody because of the nutrients that come into the shepherd's pie. That's okay.
Yeah. No corn. We know no corn in shepherd's pie.
Yeah. You have to have corn in the shepherd's pie. I understand you. Stevie is anal about that, but it's okay. So let me throw this to my friend, Thor, my bodyguard.
Yeah. Your bodyguard, Thor. What did you think of the game today? You got a question for the boys in studio? I know you're a big Jude Bellingham fan.
A really hard question because, you know, those games is like a tough game. It's hardest games in the world. It's the Clasico, like you say, but I don't know what I say. You never expect something in this game, and whatever happened in this game is going to be win for everybody, you know.
There you go.
Right now, this time is win. The Real Madrid won, we're happy about that.
I can tell you guys have been celebrating a little bit. All right, let me bring my boy Henry in here just one more time. One more time, my guy Henry. Who's your favorite character on the show, other than Stevie?
Well, you know, Craig with his Chelsea ways.
Uh-huh.
Dios mío, ¿qué pasó?
Yeah, and Dan with his Real Madrid ways and the whole crew.
Dan with his Real Madrid TV ways. He has to be one of my favorites. But it's okay, because he's the ultimate antagonist.
He is the antagonist. Now, let's settle one thing here, okay? Because Henry was at the Rose Bowl for one of the games this summer where Dan was there. So he's seen Dan in person, and he's standing eye to eye with me right now. Just settle it for us. Who is taller, Dan Thomas or Seb?
Seb.
There you have it, folks. From, where are we at here? A Disneyland Resort. It's the news you need. Seb is taller than Dan. I'm going to send it back to you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Was there a question?
Wow, what a viewing party that must have been. Goodness gracious me, the Real Madrid fans, very happy. Xavi speaking after saying we were the best team tonight and we deserved to win. I don't need to say anything about the referee. Everyone has seen it already. If I speak, they may sanction me. The images are there. See, we haven't heard your thoughts on the game.
Wrong.
Okay, that's good.
Again?
Nice and
What game was he watching? We've just seen all the highlights. I mean, you can't give the goal. It's definitely a penalty kick.
Yes.
And they've lost 3 goals. Whose fault's that? The referee? No, come on.
We've seen Xavi, of course, blame the officials before, haven't we?
It's not the officials' fault regarding the over the line.
No, look, Ter Stegen's 100% right. There's enough money in La Liga to pay for goal line technology.
Yes. Yeah, but you can't... Look, there's no excuse for not getting up with the latest technology. And it's not the latest. It's been around for...
Yeah.
How long we had it in other leagues? Probably maybe 3 years.
Not a long time.
So there's no excuse for that. I think the penalty was a penalty. There was a challenge by Camavinga on Lamine Yamal that wasn't a penalty. I think we cleared that up. There was also a challenge on the edge of the box. He was given a yellow card for. There was no controversy because Valverde was getting round on the cover, so it wasn't a sending off. And this is the second game in a row that he's got sour grapes. The PSG one,
yes,
and this one, and these are not standalones. But maybe he could talk about the mistakes that his own players are making because that's what's costing them games.